Good morning, everyone, and Boker Tov. Welcome to Tanya and You, chapter 9. Ninth chapter of Tanya. That's where we're at this morning. And as we go through the Tanya, more and more it becomes clear of how, what the makeup, the spiritual makeup, the psychological makeup of the human being is. And ultimately, the goal over here is to reach an understanding and to give us some, not just context, but advice of how to deal with life's struggles. And uh, that's where we're at in chapter 9. Chapter 9 is like the next stage in the Tanya, where we transition from understanding the context, understanding the makeup. It's like when you open a recipe book. Last night, as we were putting the kids to bed, my Zelda's like, "Can we make can I bake a cake? 8:30 at night, you want to make a cake?" So you open the recipe book, and you see the ingredients. We don't know what to do with it yet, but we have the ingredients, right? You go through the pantry. Okay, we have all the ingredients. Now, what do we do with it? How much of each? What do we put in first? What do we put in second? How do you mix it? How do you bake it? How do you fry it? Right? First, what's the context? Like, what are we dealing with? And that was chapters 1 through 8, and in chapter 9 we talk about now drama begins. Right now we talk about the struggle itself. So just to kind of recap, I know some of us missed some of the ideas of chapter 1 through 8, but just in 2 minutes, if we're able to recap where we're at in chapter 9. And again, I highly recommend, if you have the time, to actually read the chapters inside, to really gain the wealth of the Tanya in all its details, which we don't have time always in the class to go through every single detail of the chapter. But basically, we opened up the Tanya talking about uh, or introducing these two souls, as we call it, right? The godly soul and the animal soul. And basically, what we spoke is that the animal soul is like almost like the human drive. It's a drive for self, drive for survival, um, self-centered ego, right? This. We also call it the natural soul. That is one drive, one operational system. The other one is the godly soul. And what we spoke is that each of these souls is not just different instincts and different impulses and different drives that a person has, but each one is a full operating system, the soul for itself. And a soul, we spoke in chapter 3 and chapter 4, also has various powers or various attributes. And we broke it down to the intellect and the emotions, which means the way we relate to the world, the way we relate to others, the way we relate to other things, right? We understand the way we understand things. And we spoke about the three powers of the mind, chokhmah, binah, and dat, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. We comprehend, we take it in, right? We understand, we relate to things. And then we also have how we experience it emotionally, our feelings towards it, our feelings of closeness, of love, when we draw back, fear, etc., etc. All this different appreciations in the heart, how we relate to things outside of us. And then we spoke about the three garments, as the Kabbalah tells us, the modes of expression, how we express these souls through thought, through speech, and through actions. Every time we act, we do something. That's a decision, that's a choice that we are making to express something. So where is the motivation for a certain act? We all woke up this morning and we said, okay, 9 o'clock Tanya, we got to sign in and study Tanya, right? That was a choice we made. Perhaps I'm also thinking, oh, I'm so tired. I don't know. I get to the class, right? But we decided, no, we're signing in and we're going to study Tanya on a Thursday morning, right? That's a choice. That's an action. That's an expression of something. It doesn't begin with that. Where does it come from? What's driving you to do this action? It's an expression of your soul because you understand it's the right thing to do, or you enjoy it, right? So there's an intellectual component, there's an emotional component, and this drives you to do an action. It could be an action, it could be an action of speech, or it could even be a choice that we make to think about something. I'm thinking about something because my soul is telling me to think about this thing. So it's modalities of expression of our soul. And we have these two souls. We have an animal soul, which we refer to as the natural soul. And we also have a godly soul. And then we spoke in other chapters about the ideas of expressing through the thought, speech, and action. We spoke about the idea of holiness versus kalipa, that there's nothing neutral, right? Either it's being elevated to holiness, or it remains in the realm of kalipa, of negativity, of the opposite of holiness. And we went into that in great details in chapter 4, 6, and 7, and 8. And now we are at chapter 9. And now that we have everything down pat, we know the cast, we know the actors. Now is when drama begins. Now we talk about the struggle itself. But before we get to the actual struggle, a very important intro, the first section of chapter 9. One last important detail to this discussion before we can actually tackle the struggle itself. And that is a very important distinction between the animal soul and the godly soul. And this, by the way, gives us a little bit of a clue to the question. Sometimes when something arises and we're doing something, you're asking yourself, where does this stem from? Does this stem from the godly soul or from the natural soul? Sometimes it's not always so clear. It's not always so black and white. So the Tanya in the beginning of chapter 9 discusses, where is the headquarters? Where are these souls? Where in the body? You take a scan, the CAT scan, whatever they're called, right? Can we pinpoint? I see the godly soul over here. I see the animal soul over here, right? So obviously we don't have scans. We can't see this physically, but where are these souls? So the Tanya says that we have two different headquarters. They're in one body. We each have these two souls, but their primary home, right? Some of us have two homes. We live here and we have a house over here. We have a house over there. But where do you really live? When someone says, well, where do you live? Do you say here in New Orleans? Do you say the other wherever we have another house, right? So we have two dwelling places. We spend time here, we spend time there, but where's our headquarters? Where's our primary dwelling? And that's the same question we have to ask with these two souls. Where is the primary dwelling? So the Tanya says that he starts with the animal soul. And the animal soul, its primary dwelling, its headquarters, its base is in the heart.
Left side.
In the heart. And more specifically, he talks about the left chamber of the heart. And I'm not a cardiologist. I don't know the complete biology of the heart, but I understand that there are various chambers of the heart. And the Tanya breaks it down into two. The right and the left, perhaps there's four, but the right and the left, and each of them are filled with blood. The left side, the blood is energized. On the right side, it's kind of dead. It's just blood without the energy of the lungs, or however it gets energized. So the Tanya says that the headquarters of the animal soul is in the left side of the heart, left chamber of the heart. And from there, it goes into the bloodstream. And from there, it travels throughout the body, including the brain, including our mind. And the godly soul is the opposite. The godly soul's base is in the brain, in our mind. That's where the godly soul dwells. That's its base. And from there, it spreads throughout the body, including the heart, and it refers to the other side of the heart, the right side of the heart. That does not have that energized blood. Now, why is this so significant? is significant because it really tells you the makeup, the DNA, the how each of these souls are wired. In other words, like this: if you're telling me that the animal soul is in the based in the heart, heart is obviously emotions, experience, more than intellect. So after the time you told us already in the previous chapters that both of these souls, these operating systems, both have intellect and both have emotions. Now the Tanya is telling you, but by the way, there's a difference in order. What comes first? What's primary and what's secondary? With the animal soul, its primary functionality is the emotions. It's the heart. In other words, like this. You could think about something, but the context is always because I have an emotional relationship to something. So therefore, I'm going to use my mind to figure out the best way to go about it. How can I get it? Almost like an animal itself, right? They say that animals have, some of them have extremely high IQs, so to say, right? They're very smart. They can figure things out, perhaps even beyond what a human can figure out in that situation, right? Some of it is math, calculations of how to run, how to chase, how fast to go, where to jump, and where to kill, all these different things, right? Or survival. They have some of them are extremely, extremely intelligent, right? However, have you ever walked in the zoo or in the farm or in the safari and you've seen animals sitting there studying? Let's have a study session, class time. Let's sit and think about this theory of whatever, right? You don't have that because their intellect, the animal's intellect, is all based on emotions, right? Because I want something, I'm hungry, I want to survive, I want to be safe, I want to, whatever I want to do. Now I use my mind to figure that out. There isn't the concept of independent thought, independent study, independent intellect. You don't have that with the animals. So when we say that our animalistic side, our animalistic soul is based in the heart, what it's telling us is that that's where it begins. I want something, I feel something. And because of that, from there, it travels to the mind, and our mind is figuring out how to understand these ideas, how to get what I want, or how to stay away, or how to survive. That's the intellect of the animal soul. It's like I already made a decision. I know how I feel about something. Now let me study. But I don't have a truly open mind. It's all about how to reach that conclusion that I already have in the heart. That's an animalistic approach. So I have intellect, I have emotions, but emotions is the primary source. It's where it's the origin. It's where it all begins. However, the godly soul is very different. The godly soul, its origin, it begins in the mind. Yes, it also has emotions, but it begins in the mind. And that's the idea of independent study. The idea of wisdom is a beautiful, beautiful phenomenon. Truly being objective. To sit and study. You know, we all know, okay, when we're young, we study. For life, it's important to go to school, and you get good grades, you get a degree, however many years in our earlier stages in life, whether it's just elementary school, whether it's middle school, whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether it's grad, right? But eventually, I'm done studying. I've done enough studying. Now I can just go and enjoy life. But the idea of even adults sitting and studying, it's a beautiful idea. Study ideas. Of course, when it's Torah ideas, even better. But the idea that we're just trying to understand something above me or outside of me. And true objective study is really appreciating something new and to be willing to say, wow, that's a new perspective. It goes against a previous conceived notion, but I'm willing to understand. I'm willing to try to say, you know what? Maybe I understood it wrongly until this point. To be open-minded. That's true study. True study is being objective and having humility. Taking yourself out of the picture and understanding the idea. Oh, I always felt that 2 plus 2 is 5. Really, it's 4, right? So if it's a very subjective study, I'm going to try to figure out how I was always right, and this isn't really true. That's not studying. That's trying to, that's called having a conclusion and trying to use our mind to reach that conclusion. But true study, true intellect is putting self aside and understanding the idea. Now, once I understand the idea, what does that mean to me? Does that mean I have to change? I have different emotions now, right? So it starts with leaving self, taking away a previous conceived notion, and understanding the idea. That's a beautiful, beautiful phenomenon. And that's what the Tanya tells us, that the godly soul, its origin, its source, its base, its headquarters are in our mind and our intellect. That's where it begins. Because it's not about self, it's about the idea. Obviously, the godly idea, but any idea which is outside of self, it's objective. And now we understand it, each on our own level. And from there, it goes to our heart as well. The emotions develop solely based on our intellect, on our understanding. In other words, like this. Let's talk about food, for example, right? We love talking about food, right? We're Jewish, of course we're talking about food. So, okay, ice cream. I think many of us love ice cream. Maybe some of us don't. Okay, but taking that for granted, we all love ice cream. When did that begin? When can you say, that was the day I started to love ice cream? I understood how yummy it is and how tasty it is and how sweet, and right? Right? We never thought about it. It's good, right? Naturally, it's sweet, it's cold, and this, and that. Oh, we like it. We love it. Now I can tell you, explain to you why it happened, why it's so good for you, why it's so tasty, and where to get it, how to get it, whatever. Or it's not healthy, you should stay away from it, right? Whatever emotion we have to this thing, we can figure out in our mind all about it. But then there is, when did you start loving God? When did you start having a feeling of, wow, I want to be close to God? That doesn't necessarily happen at birth. That may be something that we have to think about. We have to actively develop that emotion. And how is that emotion developed properly? It's through using our intellect, thinking about the greatness of God. And there are various tracks you can take of what to think about, how to bring this about, how to develop this in the heart. But we use our mind to develop this, and then it develops into an emotion of love, closeness, an emotion of fear, of awe, of drawing back, an emotion of appreciation, of just feeling lost in the greatness of God, right? The Talmud uses this expression of to just gaze and to contemplate the awesomeness of God. Wow, just amazing. Like when I was a kid, my mother always, growing up in Toronto, my mother used to take us to Niagara Falls. And as kids in Niagara Falls, what do you want to do? There's so many fun things to do. You go to museums, you go to those rides. There's so many fun things to do over there. My mother was like, no, no, no. We're going to sit and watch the falls. Watch the falls. Okay. How long does it take to watch the falls? 10 seconds? A minute? The same thing's happening over and over again. Nothing changes. It's like, oh, we saw that, and another drop of water fell, and more water is falling. It's the same thing over and over again, right? However, as an adult, they started appreciating it. Now I'm like, rides, look at the falls. I can sit there for 3 hours looking at the falls, right? But wow, the awesomeness of this. Wow. Look at so much water. Look at nature. Look at this beautiful phenomenon that the river is coming and is falling in. That, right? Just to kind of get lost in this sight. Just get lost in the sight. You know, recently we took our kids on a trip. We went to some parks in Austin, Texas. You go to you climb a mountain and you're just sitting there and you're looking at, wow, look at this Delaware River. Look at this beautiful view. And you can just sit there for an hour or two and just look at what's going on, right? Nothing's changing. It's the same thing, but just to take it in, right? And the same is true with God. To look, to gaze on the Yikora Demak, on the beautiness, on the preciousness, on the awesomeness of God. That takes time. And that's an intellectual thing to understand, to think about the greatness of God, just kind of get lost in it. And that develops into an emotion. That's the godly soul. It begins with intellect. And then from there, it spreads to the heart as well. So in other words, what the Tanya is telling us, that although the animal soul and the godly soul both have the powers of intellect and the attributes of emotion, but they're not the same. One begins with the emotion, and from there it spreads to the mind. And the other begins with the mind, and from there it spreads to the emotion. And that's a rule of thumb. If you want to know where a certain decision is coming from, is it coming from the godly soul, from the animal? It's not always black and white, as we said. We have to make that choice. We have to kind of think it through and say, where is it? Is it coming from the heart? Is it coming from the mind? Where is it coming from? There's this beautiful story. I forget right now the name of the Rebbe, of the rabbi. It was a great Hasidic rabbi who had an evening of private audiences. People were coming and speaking. They were talking, asking for advice, asking for blessings, and he was, speaking one-on-one with many people. And at one point, he closes the door. He says, "I need a break. Give me some time." And a while later, he opens the door and he continues. They asked him what happened. He said, someone came earlier in the day and left a fairly large donation. Let's say it was 500 ruble. Okay, 500 ruble, we left a donation. I put it in the drawer. A while later, someone came in and was telling me, unloading their burden, and was saying that, listen, he has to marry a daughter, and they have no money for the dowry, they have no money for the wedding, and da da da. They don't know what to do. So the Rebbe asked him, "How much money do you need?" He says, "I need 500 ruble, a lot of money. I need 500 ruble." So the first thought that came to mind was, perfect. I have 500 ruble in my drawer. I could give this Jew the 500 ruble, and that's it. He can marry off his daughter. But then a second thought came to mind. Whoa, 500 ruble to one person? There are so many people who could use that money. What if I gave 100 ruble to 5 people? 5 people could get 100 ruble, amazing. Or perhaps 10 people could get 50 ruble each. Or, right? Or even less. And we can help so many people because start this fund to give 2 ruble a person, 10 ruble a person, 20 ruble. And he says, the Rebbe says, he truly was torn from the inside. What is the right decision over here? So he closed the door. He says, I want to think this through. Do I give it all to one? Or do I divide it to many, right? Both are doing a beautiful mitzvah of tzedakah. I can help one person with a lot, or help many people with a little. And eventually he came to the decision. And he came to the decision to give all of them all of it to one person. Now, in a moment, I'll tell you where that decision, why that was the conclusion that he came to. But it's just interesting to see how sometimes it's not so black and white, right? It's seemingly both coming from a good place. And we have to really have that sensitivity to understand, where is it coming from? Is it a godly soul, or is it the opposite? In this specific story, what he said was interesting. He said that his initial response was, let me give it all to this one person. This person is in dire need. I'm going to give it to them. Only afterwards did he start second guessing himself. Maybe not. Maybe I should split it to many people. So he felt that because the initial reaction was more pure, the second reaction felt maybe a little bit, that maybe it's going to feel better to give it to more people, right? He felt that was probably coming from an animal soul, even though it was a good deed. Ultimately, it's a big mitzvah, right? Helping so many people. But because he felt that wasn't his initial reaction, when he was involved with this, with this person, feeling their plight, in that moment, the thought came, I'm giving everything. So that was a pure thought from the godly soul. Later, when it was questioning that, maybe not, maybe hold it off, give it to, he felt probably that was coming from the animal soul. But the point is that you have to have you have to have that distinction. We have to have that sensitivity, put on those glasses, and understand, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? Is it godly, or is it the opposite of godly? So that's the opening. That's the beginning of chapter 9. Once we have this, with the second half of chapter 9, it's a beautiful, beautiful chapter. It talks about the actual struggle itself. It talks about how these two souls, they don't live side by side in peace. There isn't a two-state solution. There's fighting every day. There's fighting every day, and it gives us the understanding behind the struggle, right? We always say, let the two sides sit down and work it out. Before you work it out, first they have to understand what each side wants. You can be fighting like cats and dogs. What's your position? What do you want, and what do you want? That's the second half of chapter 9. We'll do next week. Understanding the godly soul, the animal soul. We're fighting over this body. We each want control over this body. But what do you want? What does control mean in your eyes? And what does control mean in your eyes? And that is the story of our life. But that's we'll continue next week, second half of chapter 9. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's good to see you all. And let me know if you have any questions or comments as we wrap up.